James sat alone in his dark apartment at 2:13 a.m., endlessly scrolling on his phone while the city lights flickered outside his window. The room was silent, except for the soft sound of social media videos playing one after another. Half-eaten instant noodles rested beside his laptop. James rubbed his tired eyes after another exhausting delivery shift. His phone screen reflected across his exhausted face. He watched successful people online showing luxury cars and expensive apartments. A deep feeling of failure quietly filled his chest. James looked around his tiny, messy apartment. Unpaid bills covered the old wooden table. Rain softly hit the apartment window. He checked his bank account again. Only $34 remained. James leaned back in silence. His mind felt trapped in an endless cycle. Work, eat, scroll, sleep. Every day looked exactly the same. He opened another social media app automatically. Hours disappeared without him noticing. Outside, distant police sirens echoed through the night. James suddenly saw his own reflection on the black phone screen. He barely recognized himself anymore. Dark circles sat under his eyes. His dreams felt dead. A motivational video suddenly appeared on his feed. An older man spoke calmly into the camera. He who controls his attention controls his future. James froze for a moment. The words hit harder than expected. He replayed the sentence again, then again. The apartment suddenly felt painfully quiet. James slowly locked his phone screen. For the first time in years, silence filled the room. He stared at the ceiling for several minutes. A question entered his mind. What if my phone is destroying my life? James sat up slowly. He opened his old dusty notebook. Blank pages waited in silence. He wrote one sentence. Tomorrow, I start over. Rain continued outside. James placed his phone inside a kitchen drawer. He closed the drawer firmly. That small moment changed everything. The next morning, James woke up before sunrise. The room felt strangely peaceful without notifications. He made cheap black coffee quietly. Steam rose slowly from the cup. James opened his notebook again. He created a strict daily schedule. Wake up at 5 a.m., exercise for 30 minutes, read 10 pages daily, learn one high-income skill. No scrolling after work, no wasting time. James pinned the paper beside his bed. The first few days felt impossible. His hands constantly reached for his phone automatically. The silence made him uncomfortable. His brain craved distraction, but James forced himself to continue. Every morning he ran through cold, empty streets. His breathing became stronger each day. He listened to business podcasts during deliveries. He studied marketing videos late at night. Sometimes exhaustion nearly broke him, but he refused to quit. Weeks slowly passed. His apartment became cleaner. His posture improved. His eyes looked more alive. James stopped comparing himself to strangers online. Instead, he focused on small improvements, 1% better every day. After work, he practiced freelance copywriting online. His first client paid only $20, but James smiled proudly. It was the first money he earned using his mind instead of exhaustion. He kept learning daily. Sleep became shorter. Discipline became stronger. Months passed quietly. James eventually quit social media completely. His mind felt sharper than ever before. He saved every extra dollar carefully. The old apartment slowly transformed into a focused workspace. Sticky notes covered the walls. Business ideas filled his notebook. Failures still happened constantly. Clients rejected his work many times. Some nights he wanted to give up, but he remembered the exhausted man staring at the phone screen months earlier. He never wanted to become that person again. Winter arrived in the city. Snow covered the streets outside. James worked late beside the small heater. His fingers shook from exhaustion, but his dream finally felt possible. One client suddenly offered a long-term contract. James read the email 3 times in disbelief. The payment was bigger than his monthly delivery salary. His heart raced rapidly. For the first time in years, hope felt real. James worked harder than ever before. He improved every project carefully. More clients slowly arrived. His income quietly doubled, then tripled. He finally paid off his old debts. The unpaid bills disappeared from the table forever. James bought a better laptop, then a proper office desk. The tiny apartment no longer felt hopeless. 1 year later, James launched his own marketing agency. fear filled his chest before launching the website. But discipline had already changed him completely. The scared, distracted version of James no longer existed. Long nights of hard work continued. Coffee cups stacked beside his keyboard. City lights glowed outside every night. James hired his first employee, then another. The business slowly expanded. Some months were difficult. Unexpected problems nearly destroyed everything. But James stayed calm under pressure. Years of discipline strengthened his mind. 2 years later, his company crossed $1 million in revenue. James sat silently in his office, staring at the screen. The same city lights still glowed outside, but everything felt different now. He remembered the night he almost gave up on himself. The endless scrolling, the loneliness, the hopeless apartment. James slowly opened his desk drawer. Inside rested his old cracked phone. Dust covered the screen. He held it quietly in his hands. A small smile appeared on his face. That phone once controlled his entire life. Now, discipline controlled his future instead. Snow softly fell outside the office windows. James looked across the glowing skyline of New York City. The journey had cost years of sacrifice, but it gave him freedom. James whispered quietly to himself. The night I stopped scrolling was the night my life finally began.